Wagner troops operating in Mali have suffered the greatest military disaster in at least a year. But was there more than just Mali rebels behind it? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. Okay, so this is a really interesting story that reports that yesterday, Russia's Wagner mercenary group reportedly took heavy losses in fighting against Tuareg rebels near Mali's northern border with Algeria. And this has been backed up actually by a number of cell phone videos showing destroyed Wagner equipment, KIA Wagner soldiers, and even a perspective from the ambush itself. All right. A statement from one of the Tuareg rebel groups, the Permanent Strategic Framework for Peace, Security, Development, just an elegant name if there ever was one, said that it had seized armored vehicles, trucks, and tankers near the border town of Tinzahuaten. Wagner actually acknowledged it, which is unusual for a variety of reasons. And that while Wagner claims that their group destroyed most of the first ambush of what they called Islamists, there was an ensuing sandstorm that allowed what they called the radicals to regroup, increasing their numbers to 1,000 people. Again, in the video that I can't show you, it's nowhere near 1,000 people. It's like 40. Right? Wagner said it repulsed an attack again, but there had been losses among Wagner and the Malian military. The last message from the Wagner group on July 27th was, quote, "3 of us stayed. We continue to fight." And of course, the Malian army also acknowledged that some of its soldiers were killed and injured, and that one of the helicopters, so acknowledging there were helicopters on site, crashed in Kidal on Friday. What it described as a routine mission, but no one was killed. But the story is very different when you ask the Tuareg separatists, right? They reportedly are saying that Malian army and its Russian allies were eliminated following 3 days of intense fighting on the Algerian border. They claim that their forces deliberately and decisively obliterated enemy columns on Saturday. They said they seized a large amount of equipment or weapons, right, that prisoners were taken. The rebels said they suffered 7 KIA and 12 WIA. But it's not clear on just how many Wagner troops were killed, right? One number put it at dozens. Some rumors say 80 to 90. Some Russian mill bloggers are saying at least 20. So you can see how messy this kind of reporting can get, right? So what's interesting about this, there's a bunch, right? There's a bunch of things to unpack here. First off, if you want a deep dive analysis of this and all the uncensored combat footage that YouTube won't let me show you, that's available on combatvetnews.com. You guys know Combat Vet News. You guys that are members know that twice a week I drop uncensored combat footage that's fresh from the front lines, usually less than a week old, often less than 48 hours old. It lets us see the parts of the fighting that we just cannot get any other way. But more important than that, Combat Vet News is the way to support the channel. I am totally independent. I'm not beholden to any kind of network, organization. I don't even have many recurrent sponsors. So in order to keep me independent, able to do real, actual, unbiased analysis, I depend on you guys. So thanks to all the tiers that support me. Of course, any one of them will get you access to those members-only videos, but I also do a weekly Q&A with the lieutenant tier and above and do the by-name shout-outs for the colonel tiers. So if you want access to all that, check out combatvetnews.com. The link is in the description, so click on it today. Okay, so let's start here. Let's talk about what Russia was doing in Mali. And the answer is that Mali has always... Essentially, the story is this. When Libya collapsed in 2012, the Tuareg rebels and a Tuareg ethnic group who had been kind of living in exile, for lack of a better term, or sheltered by the Libyan administration, suddenly fled with a lot of weapons and returned to Mali and began their separatist campaign. As they were conducting this, the Malian democratic government said, hey, France, we need your help to take on these rebels, right? They're growing increasingly bold. They actually targeted the Radisson Hotel in Mali in 2015, which left 21 dead. And so a combination of Malian, French, and UN peacekeeping forces conducted extensive operations in counterinsurgency, trying to eliminate this rebel group. But the Kremlin realized that there was a growing opportunity because the rebel group was never actually able to be eliminated. And so in 2017, a group mysteriously emerged called the Group of Patriots of Mali, who canvassed communities and promoted a Russia-Africa cooperation, held public meetings attended by Russian officials, and posted pro-Putin and pro-Russian photos on its Facebook page. They also claimed to have collected 8 million signatures demanding Russia's military intervention in Mali, claiming that Russia would be an effective counter to Western involvement. They also a number of other groups promoted a pro-Russian narrative and even produced some fake social media posts showing purportedly French soldiers looting gold in Mali. Now, by about 2021, the government actually did. It kicked out the French and let in the Russians. And as a result, of course, Russia began to train Malian soldiers, particularly Malian senior officers. And a number of officers went to Russia and then returned from their training exercise and staged a coup, stating that they were, quote, destroying the neo-colonial system that was, quote, extracting the resources of African countries. And, of course, the pro-junta and pro-Russian groups managed to, after the military seized power, there was, of course, a ban of basically anything French, any French news, just about anything that might report Western media. And Russian networks were gaining traction. Now, of course, Russia, as we know, is not exactly an honest, helpful partner, right? Since 2021, Wagner has operated in Mali. And you might remember after the Wagner coup, Putin said, listen, I need to take these guys who are effective fighters, but I can't have them fighting in Ukraine. They're too close to home. So he said, listen, I'm going to send them as far away as I possibly can. And so he sent them to Africa. So that is what they're doing here. They're supporting the Malian regime against their Tuareg rebels. Now, they're not doing it for free. That's the important part. Wagner receives $10 million a month for its services, right? That's $120 million a year plus access to 3 gold mines in Mali. So literally, they kicked the French out because of fake photos of the French looting Malian gold. And in exchange, Wagner looted actual Malian gold. Gold, of course, being 80% of Mali's exports. And most of Mali's gold smuggled to Dubai, which is also useful because that's where Russia can also launder money. And Putin, of course, loves getting gold because, frankly, there's no country that backs gold. So if Putin needs more international reserves, well, gold's a reliable, simple one. And so all this explains what Wagner was doing in Mali, supporting the government against Tuareg rebels. But there's something else just a little sus. And that is the fact that the Ukrainians, particularly Ukrainian special forces, will hunt the Russians just about anywhere, right? In fact, we've seen in June, Ukrainian special forces working with Syrian rebels to fight Wagner Group operating in Syria. Ukrainian special forces were interrogating captured Wagner soldiers in Sudan. There was also, of course, Russian drones destroying Russian mercenaries and their, quote, local terrorist partners in Sudan. We covered that on Combat Vet News. And there was even more footage showing Ukrainian special forces performing cleanup operations of Wagner fighters in Sudan. So it's fair to say that the Ukrainians have no problem hurting the Russian military, damaging Russia's strategic interests in Africa, which again makes sense because if this gold mine operation is true, then it is a huge source of money for the Russians, and stopping their ability to get it is crucial to sustaining the Ukraine war effort, right? And definitely worth at least a few members of Ukrainian special forces. Now, I want to show you this. This is from the Kiev Post, who obtained a photo, what they say is Tuareg rebels displaying the Ukrainian flag. Now, let's do a little zoomy in here, and I want to point out some details to you that I find intriguing. Now, Tuareg rebels, right? These guys are ideological, untrained fighters. Notice that they carry their weapons all in actually kind of a uniform way, right? Across with the barrels pointed up, right? It's literally uniform. But make note about this guy. This is a dude who appears to be pretty pale-skinned for a Tuareg rebel, for a northern Algerian or a southern Algerian Malian. He also is carrying his weapon barrel pointed down, with his finger very prominently off the trigger. This is something you would expect from a Western-trained soldier or law enforcement officer, someone with pretty extensive Western training. You may notice another detail. His face is blurred out. Right? This man's face not blurred out. This man's face not blurred out. This guy's face is blurred out, sure. But so is this guy. Oh yeah, and so is this guy. Again, one of the only men wearing a polo shirt. Right? You notice khakis. Not a lot of khaki wearing. Almost every Tuareg rebel is wearing some camo pants. But this guy, khakis. This guy, face uncovered, sure. Khakis. Notice this man, khakis and kicks. Right? Notice this guy too. Also appears very pale for a Malian. And, again, kicks and no camo to be seen. So, I point this out. Oh yeah, here's one other dude, also rocking a polo shirt. These I look at this and I see that there's just a little bit more people at work here. Maybe the Ukrainians, sure, certainly. Wouldn't shock me if you told me it was the French. Wouldn't shock me if you told me it was Americans, right? All of which have extensive relationships in these African countries fighting against these rebel forces. So my thesis is that someone, again, always remember, guys, you can get a flag of any country on Amazon. You want to put on a French flag, you want to put on a Malian flag, you want to put on a Ukrainian flag, guys, it's like $4 on Amazon. So just because you're wearing a flag doesn't mean that you actually are a citizen of that country or that you are representing them. So again, but there's definitely something sus going on with this photo of these Tuareg rebels and the small number of Tuareg rebels who seem to have a real love of Western outdoor gear. Anyway, guys, that is really all I had. A huge thank you to the members of CombatVetNews.com. Could not do this without you guys. Appreciate you so much, especially James Sterling, Steve Moran, Doug Beck, Alan Knudsen, Bastian Hemmerling, Yanko Georgiev, as well as all the lieutenant tier. You guys really are the ones who sustained me in this. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you all in the next one. Cheers.